What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi Fruit Loop. What you know?
Did you know that space smells like seared steak?
Dude, I want to hang out in space.
I know, right?
Oh, I want
So
some steak.
they asked some former astronauts because you always think like, what's space smell like? I always assumed it just smelled like nothing. Like I don't know. So they said it smells like like they described it as hot metal or searing steak.
I mean, that's quite a jump. Either hot metal or steak.
Yeah,
Ugh,
I don't know.
love your little useless facts now.
See, yeah,
I'm excited for them. Look, I have my red lights on for Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all you
yeah.
lovers out there.
Eat chocolate.
Yeah, it's a good excuse. I'm not a big Valentine's celebrator, but
Yeah.
happy Valentine's Day.
I'm just a big. Anytime you put chocolate with peanut butter, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, Miss Diabetic right
Like
there.
Reese cups, your kids always steal your Reese cups.
Oh, I know. I have to hide them. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know I have my Reese cups, and then but didn't you
I've
tell
seen
them where
them.
they were one time though?
Well, I did tell them they came in looking for them, and I was like, over there in the drawer.
Yeah, thanks for that.
But they will take them. They steal them.
I know. You can't have nice things when you have kids anymore. I'm
But
serious.
I think they gave me one, so I was okay with it.
Yeah, that's probably why you sent them. You were like, "Get me one. I'll tell you where
Get
they
me one
are."
while you're in there. Yeah,
Man, I just think
yeah.
you're my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Sell me out for a Reese cup.
Till it comes with chocolate and peanut butter.
Yep, there you go. We want to give a big thank you to Carrie for the PayPal donation. And girl, I'm
Thanks,
going to hit you up when I'm in Charleston next.
thanks, Carrie.
We're going to have some coffee talk. And a big thank you to one of our sponsors, Two Cool T-Shirt Quilts. You can go to twocooltshirtquilts.com/pretty lies and alibis. Check them out. We had somebody asking the other day the link. So Pretty Lies and Alibis. No, twocooltshirtquilts.com/pretty lies and alibis. Get you she was interested in a pillow, which are amazing. You can see behind me my Pretty Lies and my Clemson pillow.
I
Check.
did shoot Andrea an email, and I hadn't checked it today, but somebody asked if she could do digital,
Hmm.
like, images, and I don't know, I'm waiting on her to. So, Andrea, if you're listening, can you do digital images on quilts?
How much sugars you had today? Because my tongue's a little thick too.
Yep.
Okay, so first off, we thought we were going to cover the Curtis Reeves trial, and I'm going to tell you guys, I'm very interested in this verdict, no doubt. But during the openings, the defense made really, really clear that the bulk of their case is going to be a lot of medical doctors that treat Mr. Reeves and his arthritis and that kind of thing. And look, my grandmother has arthritis. I'm very sympathetic, but it doesn't really this trial's expected to go, I think, 2 to 3 weeks. So
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this much. I wish this judge was on this Daybell Vallow stuff
he
because
don't
she
play.
don't play.
No, I know. But you know what's interesting? This case is 8 years old. The man's been out for a lot of time, and I mean, it's taken a hot minute to go to trial. I'm very interested in the verdict. I just don't know that I wanna sit through a week or 2 of his doctor saying that he's arthritis. It doesn't make for good episodes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I asked an officer today how I'm like, how do you even prepare? Like 8 years has went by since you've did these interviews and all. And he said when he does like makes his notes and files his reports, that you better detail it, like tons
Mhm.
of details, because if you don't, and when you go back and have to review it, there's stuff you have to stay on the stand. I don't recall. I don't
Right,
recall.
yeah. Yeah,
So
which is very different probably from those initial interviews with prosecutors. So,
yeah,
I'm interested to watch this one from the side. So we thought we would go over and do the Robert Hayes trial down in Florida, and he is the man that's accused of murdering. He's being charged for 3 in this trial. There's another one in Palm Beach, I believe. It's a 4th murder. The problem with this trial, and I tweeted out today we were gonna cover it. However, the audio is not great to listen to, and so sometimes it's a little hard to figure out which victim they're talking about,
yeah.
and I kept rewinding and rewinding, and they have DNA evidence on him. Of course, you never know what a jury's going to do. This is going to be
Yeah.
a quicker trial. I think maybe it might wrap up by the end of the week, but it was just really a struggle for me to make sense of who was who.
Yeah.
And instead of assuming or spending hours trying to pour back through, we're going to again watch that verdict. So, what we've decided to do, because today the Brian Laundrie medical examiner report came out,
Yep.
we're going to do that tonight. And then tomorrow we're going to break down Pryor's filing for the motion to sever these cases. I think it's a memorandum in support. So he's just giving his reasons. We're going to do that. We're also, what other case are we going to jump into this week?
Duggar, the prosecution responded to Duggar's whatever, right?
Yeah, his
And
request for like
request
a
for
new trial or
new trial. Yeah.
let me go home. I don't like the pokey.
Yeah.
Too bad, dude.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then
what else?
Delphi.
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 And that's one that we're starting to catch up on some of these cases that we weren't around for when they started. But so we just finished the Barry Morphew affidavit. So what we're going to do is kind of play catch up this week. We're just going to go through some filings that we haven't gotten around to, break those down. And another thing I had noticed on our iTunes, there was a review left where somebody said they didn't understand why we broke down like the 2020 episodes. So I just kind of want to explain. We have a really big listener base that's out of this country. They're in
Mm,
different countries all over the world, and they cannot watch these specials. So not only do we do it for them, but most of our listeners will ask us, "Are you guys going to break down this 2020 episode for us?"
yeah.
Gives us a chance to kind of talk about things. We do learn some new things, but there's a couple of reasons why we do those. But you know, the big two reasons we have listeners out of country, and most of our listeners kind of like when we do that. So
Yeah.
just kind of wanted to
And
say that.
like tonight, what we're going over, we're hitting the high points.
Right.
But if you want to look at the documents like as they are, you can go to our website and we have a link on our Facebook page. But our website is www.prettyliesandalibis.org, and you go there, you can see all those documents. So
Yeah, we're trying to get more active with our website. It's kind of been just sitting there for a
yeah,
year or so. So now we're trying to get these documents up. So I just wanted to kind of address that because, you know, um, I just saw that comment and it's a relevant question.
yeah,
So I just kind of
yeah.
wanted to explain. All right. So we're going to break down this medical examiner report for Brian Laundrie. I think this is kind of case closed at this point.
Had some interesting stuff in it.
It
We're gonna
did
get
for
to it,
sure.
but yeah, we've already had some of you make some comments about it. So
Yeah. I think the bottom line is, yeah, there's a couple of things in here that made me kind of scratch my head, but ultimately they've closed the case. I don't know if we'll ever find out what was in that notebook. I really don't. I feel like they might have put that out by now, and I'm sure his parents have possession of that notebook at this point,
yeah,
maybe.
and we know
So
they didn't share anything. So
I would venture a guess to say he probably gave some excuse as to why he murdered her, and I'm sorry and goodbye.
yep,
So let's get into this. So just some dates to kind of set this up. September 13th of 2021, Brian was last seen by his parents at their home. He said he was going to the Carlton Reserve or the Macahachie Environmental Park to go hiking. So the next day on September 14th, his car was found in the parking lot. It had a ticket on it. And so his dad, I believe, came and drove it, or his mom, because remember the officer thought it was Brian in the car.
yep,
So mom drove that car home. And September 17th, his parents report him as gone. I don't want to say missing. He wasn't missing, he was gone. So there was rain in the area for a bunch of days after he went in that park. And October 7th, the flooding finally receded and the reserve was hikeable again. So on October 20th, 2021 at 8:20 a.m., search groups find a backpack and shoes identified as belonging to Brian. The personal items were found surrounded by apparent skeletal human remains that were scattered on top of dirt ground, and it was in plain sight. Now, if you remember, his parents had went in that morning with agents, and it was not long after that they found these remains.
yep.
So which has been the source of a lot of conspiracy theories. But
Yeah.
the remains were found about a mile from the entrance into that park. And the medical examiner met with Carrie Harvey, a team leader of the FBI evidence response team, who informed the medical examiner that the area had previously been under 3 feet of water for an extended amount of time. And they could tell based on the water line on surrounding trees.
Yep.
And Brian Enton down there in Florida, he was there at the reserve, and you can go back and watch around that. Well, before it receded, he did say that it was underwater. So the search area was divided into a main scene and a second scene. The main scene contained human remains that included right and left scapula, which is like your back, that little bone that sticks out back there. Right humerus, left and right femur, two tibias, two fibulas, two clavicles, two pelvis, one right ulna, one right radius, a sacrum, multiple ribs, multiple skull fragments, the maxilla and mandible, and 25 vertebrae. So this was kind of news to me. I think we had only heard about the skull, the partial skull, but
Yep.
really they found most of his skeleton.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like it. I think there were a few pieces missing, but
Yeah.
maybe a few teeth missing, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, so the main scene also contained a pair of green shorts with a green belt, two slip-on shoes, a backpack with unknown contents, a white metal ring, and a snub-nosed revolver. The secondary scene contains skeletal animal remains, a handwritten half note, and a hat with a logo Moab Coffee Roasters. So the dry bag, and this is where we get into where they find the journal and stuff. So the dry bag contained a journal and a wooden box with a small notebook and a photo of Brian. There were additional photos, but the medical examiner wasn't told what they were. It's odd. That's what you take out there, right?
Yeah, I don't and you think about why take the picture yourself. Well, I was kind of thinking about that. I wonder if he did that for identification purposes. When somebody did find his remains, maybe they would see this photo and say, "Oh,
Yeah. I thought maybe it was like a keepsake box that maybe him and that he had. Maybe Gabby gave it to him. I don't know.
yeah," because they did say there are other photos in there, so
Mhm. Yep.
probably we'll
Yep.
never know.
Yep. So October 21st, Dr. Winterhalter of the ME office met with Dr. Nancy Havens, a forensic I can't remember,
Odontologist.
odontologist. I was gonna say odontologist. No,
Well,
I'm
we're
just
gonna
kidding.
let that slide because you nailed Winterhalter.
See, I got
You're
it.
good on that. We're getting
Yeah,
better with names.
I know, right? Practice makes perfect.
That's right. We've had enough
Yeah.
practice, a year and a half.
Unless you're talking about free throws, and practice doesn't make perfect with free throws. Uh, Anyways, so the medical examiner requested Brian's dental x-rays from his dentist in New York and found that the FBI had gotten them. The last visit he had there was in 2014 when he was 17 years old. Um, so at 10:10 a.m., the medical examiner was informed they had found more bones from Brian's left arm, and they responded to the scene. On scene, they had 3 zones that were designated for sifting purposes to try and identify more human remains. And I think at that point, you want to get everything
Oh, yeah.
because I mean we know they're going to try to piece all this together to figure out what happened because that's what they
Yeah.
do. So at 4:20, the medical examiner was informed the remains were positively identified as Brian Laundrie, and I know that was a big, huge conspiracy theory. It wasn't really his remains, but we see here that they identified his DNA. They
Mhm.
didn't just use like I guess the jaw stuff and all dental records. It was DNA as well. At 4:25, a projectile was found at zone 2 near the main scene. It was in 6 inches of dirt and 50 to 60 feet south of where the skull fragments and handgun was located. Um, on October 22nd, they began conducting inventory and photographic evidence of the remains at the Sarasota Medical Examiner facility. And once that was done, the remains were sent to the office of District 20's medical examiner for anthropological golly, exam and reconstruction. Oh man.
I don't think we've
Uh,
been to the bar tonight.
I know, right? Straight up had Chick-fil-A. That was it. Grill market salad and some water. So, Detective Keller and lead agent Bush of the FBI arrived at the Sarasota Medical Examiner facility. Detective Keller reported that Brian was right hand dominant. And that's what's going to get you the little, it's a little
That's
odd.
suspicious.
That's weird. So, the October 26th, a medical examiner contacts Chris and Roberta Laundrie, telling them of the FBI and District 12 medical examiner's involvement.
So Roberta said that Brian was healthy and had no known medical issues. This is kind of weird to me, though. When asked about his social history, the parents did not want to answer that. Which, if you report your kid as not being in your home and you're worried, why would you not want to give investigators anything they ask for that might help them? But who am
Yeah.
I to judge?
Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah,
Like, even if you say he was a loner and didn't hang out with anybody, like, I
there's
don't
nothing
understand the
wrong
big
with that.
deal.
There's nothing
No,
wrong with that. But
no, some people like chilling by themselves.
right, yeah, for sure. I don't mind chilling by myself at all.
Look, I'm about to say, like, I'm okay chilling by myself
Yeah.
sometimes.
So
Yeah.
the same day the medical examiner was informed that the gun collected at the scene was this is French to me, y'all. A European American Arms 38 Special on barrel and a 357 Magnum on the other side of the barrel. The firearm was a Windicator revolver, and the cylinder contained 2 live rounds and 1 spent round of ammunition.
So it's just a snub nosed, like the revolver you see that spins.
Yeah, like the
Like
Wild
you load
West.
it. Yeah, you load it and it's a revolver. The bullet revolves in the thing.
Well, I do
That's
know
what it
that
is.
I have my officially have my concealed weapons carry permit,
That's so
although,
scary.
it's very scary. But, okay, number 1, I ain't carrying it nowhere because 'cause I'll end up shooting myself in the hip and, you know,
Barney.
probably cause a big scene at the TJ Maxx. I mean, that's all that's gonna happen with me having a gun.
Just put
But
your bullet in your pocket.
but my dad told me that I should get a revolver because they don't jam.
Mhm.
Like, he was like, "You need a revolver." Dude, I would be like the Wild West. I'd just be grabbing it off my hip.
Dude, you ain't gonna have
10
Clint
paces.
Eastwood's big old
Uh-uh.
gun.
I
It's
did
a
I
little
did go through the class though, so I know what I'm doing, like Annie Oakley. Okay, so
scary.
November 19th, DNA analysis confirms the remains were Brian. November 23rd, Chris and Roberta were notified that the DNA test showed the remains are Brian. I think that the dental is sort of a, early on
Yeah.
confirmation. I mean, our teeth are like fingerprints. You learn that if you watch Forensic Files. It's just like having a fingerprint if you don't have a fingerprint, but you have that, jaw with the teeth in. It's really crazy. I
Yeah.
think that's also maybe how they identified Tylee.
Yep.
Some of her remains, I think there was something
Mhm.
about some dental work, but they did get some tissue as well. Oh, bless her heart. No, let's see. The cranial fragmentation and the presence of a handgun is consistent with a gunshot injury to the head. The bones had no soft tissue and showed evidence of scavenging and carnivore activity in the form of gnawing and chewing, mostly on the distal ends of the long bones. Evidence suggests that the animals who ate the remains were possibly a feral dog, coyotes, as well as rodents and raccoons. The
Yep.
skull show I mean, mm, the skull shows a single gunshot wound to the left temple, causing extensive fracturing where the majority of the left temporal bone is absent. Now, this is where you texted me and was like, something's
Eh,
rotten in Denmark.
yeah. So, in what I researched, and there's always a 1% or 10% or 30% or whatever percent. But everything I read and I talked to some officers was what they had seen. The majority of suicides that they see, they use their dominant hand to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Now, here we've already had people comment on those documents that asked, wait a minute, if he's right-handed, how is he shooting himself on his left side of his head? So, could he have pulled the trigger with his left hand? Yes, but he was right hand dominant. So,
Yeah. So that's going to be the thing that keeps people talking about this case.
mm-hmm.
The exit wound was on the right side, just above the temporal bone. The toxicology report showed no drugs in his system. And that's kind of like the bulk of it. There's a lot of really technical stuff in there, a lot of
Yeah.
charts and math that made my head hurt just looking at it.
Well, some of the stuff that he had with him, like he had a tent that he never set up. So he had a tent in one of his bags that was still in the bag. It wasn't set up. So when you look at some of the stuff like that, it looked like he was going to stay for a bit.
Mhm.
Because I can tell you, if I go on a hike for a day, I don't take a tent.
Right, yeah,
Only
no.
reason why you take a tent is if you're going to plan to spend the night out there. So
Well, and 2, when he left the home, it was starting to gain a little traction in the media, I think, and he probably knew it was inevitable that somebody like him, who seemingly loves the outdoors, has murdered an innocent person and realizes, "When they catch me, it's not a if, but when they catch me, I'm gonna be in prison for the rest of my life."
yeah.
So, I mean, and I've said this from day one, I know there's a lot of theories out there, but I think if you peel it all away, at the end of the day, what we have here is another unfortunate domestic violence incident that ended with her murdered and the person that murdered her dead. I
Yeah.
just don't think that a lot of the things I've read, as far as speculation, makes sense.
But you think about it. Okay. So, I mean, so you take a tent to, and this is normally how things go. Like if you're going to tent camp, when you get to your spot, your site, you set up your tent first because if it gets dark, you can't set a tent up in the dark. It's very difficult. So normally when you're going out there to do those type of things, that would be the first thing you do. So what altered his, and we know that he liked being outdoors and he stayed outdoors a lot, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what altered his decision to set up his tent?
Well, and I think the thing too is ever since he had gotten home, he had been with mom and dad, who I think knew what happened.
Mm.
I fully believe he told them he killed Gabby. That's why they were so secretive, not answering calls from the Petito family and the Schmidt family. I think it's really clear. He gets off by himself, nobody to talk to, nobody to say, "Hey, it's going to be okay. You know, we're going to make sure this is okay." You don't know what he told them as far as their reasons. He could have said that, she pulled a gun on. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out, like, why would parents, when you knew your kid murdered somebody, why would you help him? But I think maybe being out there by himself and it's quiet, except for, like the bugs. Then you have time to think by yourself. My life is over. It's just a matter of, is it going to be over sitting here in a swamp, or is it going to be over in 60, 70 years in a cell?
Well, I think with me, one of the big red flags with the, so Gabby's mom contacted his parents, and this was before anything was out. They hadn't reported her missing yet, I don't think, because they didn't know where they were. So she contacted them and said, "Hey, have you heard from the kids?" And they had no response.
Yeah.
So
But
that's, for me, that's important.
and if you remember in the very beginning too, her family thought they both were missing.
Mhm.
So it goes to show you that initially it wasn't kind of "Oh, it has to be Brian." They thought they were both
Yeah.
missing. And
Yeah.
look, I'm sure that it's painful for the family every day. They'll never get over that hurt. It'll never get better. I think your grief grows around that. It doesn't get smaller. You just adapt. Maybe with this being all kind of final now, you know, her family, both her sets of parents are very involved in domestic violence awareness, missing person awareness. Hopefully, they can take this now with this sort of being closed and move forward with that mission and do some really awesome things. Because I think if one person left a really bad relationship because of Gabby, then it's not in vain necessarily. Um,
Yeah.
and they're gonna help people throughout the year. So, good on them for taking this and trying to make a difference in something that their daughter went through, and it ultimately took her life.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it seems like they're satisfied with the investigation. They thanked investigators. It seems like they accept what they've been told about what happened, which I do believe is what happened. So, love and light to them, and, change the world, use your platform. I think they're already realizing it's huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, and we always tell people, if you're in a bad relationship, it's not going to get better. Get out.
Yeah. Don't
Too often, this is
don't
the end
stay.
result. if
Yeah.
if not murder, then just psychological or physical abuse.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that is what it is. My famous saying, I always say it is what it is. And
Yeah.
it's just that. So we can sit here and theorize all day long about a left-handed, gunshot wound to the head, but ultimately, there's nothing that they have said that makes us think there's anything else to come out about this, really. So that's kinda all we had for tonight. Tomorrow night, we're gonna break down that John Pryor filing in support of the motion to sever, which you and I were talking, kinda understand where he's coming at this point with wanting to sever these cases for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about it tomorrow, but there's some
Yeah.
good points.
I mean, I'm
Uh,
no fan, don't get me wrong, but
no, he drives me crazy.
it drives me insane too. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we'll have that coming for you tomorrow. Delphi murders this week later. And what was the thing on Netflix you were telling me about we needed to research?
Uh, we don't need to do it. There was like, um, we'll talk about it. It wasn't good.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, never mind.
yeah,
Forget
yeah.
I said that,
We
y'all.
forget she said that.
Yeah.
But I just a couple things. Just remember, reach out to somebody if you're going through that. Reach out and let somebody know. And also, we had a couple people ask about merchandise, where to get it, and go to www.prettyliesandalibis.com.
Wait, I have a shirt here. I can show you guys.
See, she has a shirt she can show you if you want a shirt.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I guess I shouldn't talk, so I'm at the microphone. But we did have um the glow on it, but I'm
with
gonna
the
tell you guys, the
fuzzy,
print out was not good. It was
yeah,
fuzzy. We had some people complaining about it. So, unfortunately, we do not have the glow on this, but this is my long sleeve t-shirt, and
yeah.
it's super comfy, and, my mom's gonna take it on her cruise because they have a represent day where you can represent brands and wear your shirts, so, if they get to go, because she may have to have surgery.
Uh oh.
Bless it. So,
Not
anyways,
sweet that you gotta have surgery, Miss Pat. I'm saying sweet that if you get to go, you take the shirt.
yeah, exactly. And my
Yeah.
aunt's doing much better. Thank you guys. We think we're getting there. So, all right, we will see you tomorrow. We will go back into the Vallow Daybell case, and he calls her Daybell in this filing, which I thought was
He
interesting.
does. Uh
All
oh.
right, we will discuss tomorrow. See you soon. Happy Valentine's Day.